Oh my god. Trolls, right?
I was thinking of JoJo and him going, "Oh my god!"
I was thinking about
Um,
Natsuki.
I tried to emulate the voice. Oh my, the bad acting. The Josephs would be like, oh my god.
Yeah.
So the tone is important.
Alright, so welcome to another episode of the Otaku Informers. This time to focus on the DualSense. So at Gamescom 2022, that was a couple of days ago, they announced the new DualSense Edge wireless controller that you see on the screen. So first things first, I'm gonna jump to you, Matt. What do you think about the announcement of the new DualSense Edge controller, and what do we know about it?
I want it now. There you go. I just want it now. Um, it's about time Sony finally decided to make their first party pro controller, just like Xbox. Because all the time from Xbox people, I always hear, "Oh, the Xbox Elite controller is so good, so worth the money. It's really high quality and blah blah blah." I'm like, "Oh, that's nice." And then I'm just here with my normal controller. But like the DualSense is my favorite controller. Like I really like this thing. I don't have any complaints with it other than the Joy-Con drift, which both of my controllers have now on one
Perfect.
joystick.
We're
I'm
going
just
to,
like,
yeah.
great, lovely. So I have to play around that, and thankfully it's only one of them, not both. But it's just that's the only part I don't like about the controller. Um,
That's a pretty
like the
major part not to like. Your
yeah,
controller has one job, and if your controller starts drifting, it's not doing that one job.
yes. What I meant was like it feels good in the hand. It's
Yeah,
not too heavy. The
I agree.
buttons feel good. The haptics are great. The adaptive triggers are awesome. I like that there's a mic and headphone
Hmm.
built in. That way, it's like if you don't feel like putting your headset on, you can still talk into it and they can hear you. Might not be great, but at least you can chat.
Hmm.
Like it's a great controller, other than the one thing it's supposed to do, like be reliable with the joysticks, which is not often.
So I know what we do know about this DualSense Edge controller that it's gonna be fully customizable, meaning you're gonna be able to remove, for example, the joystick to replace it. So like one thing with the Xbox Elite controller that people wanted for PlayStation was that it was like modular components that you can remove so that you can customize it, etc. Um, so this is what I want to say about the Joy-Con Drift, which is not something that I have shared before, which is something pretty interesting. So I have the white controller right here. So this white controller that I have is actually one that I had to have get fixed by Sony when the first year that I got the PS5. After a few months, I play a lot of Overwatch on the PlayStation, so I use my joystick a lot, which probably
Mhm.
aggravates the drift, right? Like because you're like clicking left and right very quickly. So I was very mad when my white controller started drifting because I was like, I paid a lot of money for this PS5. Like
Yeah.
I'm feeling scammed by Sony, right? Like they're selling me a product that's not working like it's supposed to. And a lot of people had this issue early on, and there was a class action lawsuit that started against Sony that I remember back then I was mad, so I signed my name on the website. And I contacted Sony customer service through Twitter actually, and I did like an at Twitter, and I recorded my Overwatch menu, and the menu was going down by itself. So they were like, okay, send us back the controller, and we'll repair it because it's still under warranty. And then I'm like, yeah, sure. They sent me the link. I had to pay $15 to send it back to them. So I had to pay to get my controller fixed that's under warranty. So I paid the $15. I sent it back. I'm a week without a controller. I can't play my console for a week. They sent it back to me. And when they sent it back to me, after maybe 2 months, the drift started again. I was like, oh my god. So when I signed my name on the class action lawsuit, I had completely forgotten about
Right.
it. And about like 6 months later, maybe a year later, they actually won the class action lawsuit, and I received a $35 check through the mail. So my $15 that I paid, I was actually compensated because I was part of this class action lawsuit against Sony. So they sent me a $35 check. Where did Matt go?
Like, you should have. I think you should have been sent a controller, a new controller instead. But
Thank
whatever.
you.
Anything.
Exactly. And when I received, like, when it started drifting again, I was outside of the 1 year warranty. Man, where did that Matt go? I actually wanted his, because I'm about to say something that is going to inform him too.
I'm back. I'm back.
Okay,
I can
so
feel the mosquito.
nice. So Matt, as I was saying, I got the $35 check from the class action lawsuit for Sony, which paid back the $15, and then this drift started again. But I was like, I don't want to buy another controller that's gonna have the drift issue. But I did buy the black controller, and this one,
Oh,
I made research about it. And you know what? And you know what you have to watch out for? So Sony will not tell you this because they don't want another lawsuit. When you go on Amazon, when you buy a new controller, in the back there is a serial code. The
yeah.
serial code has to finish with an A. If the code, so if you see this one, the serial code ends with a 1, this one ends with an A. You know why? It's because when they released the purple and the blue controllers, they fixed the Joy-Con drift issue. But they didn't say it because they don't want to get sued by people who don't have, who they don't want to get sued, right? So meaning, if you ever buy a new controller, you have to make sure that it has an A at the end of the serial bar code. Otherwise, you're gonna have drift issues again. So basically, this is my official disclaimer to anyone who's ever going to buy a new controller, because I remember on Secret Symbol they were like, when they released the purple and blue controller, somebody opened up the controller and saw that they were made different than the old ones, which is something that Sony does not tell you. And then I was like, all
Yeah.
right, so I'm gonna buy a purple or a blue controller, but I want the black one, right? I don't want a purple or a blue one. I want the black one. So basically, you can buy any color controller that you want, and as long as it has an A at the end of the serial code, then you're good, and it means it will not have a DriftCon issue. Drift,
That's
yeah.
that's probably just because, like, overall deep down, it's still a Japanese company and they want to avoid any kind of complications, even though
Of
it's not
course.
headed by a Japanese person anymore at the moment. But it's still like the core is still Japanese, and like, we did this? No, right? We got the rug. Yeah, so
We did this?
We
No, no,
fixed
no, no,
it.
no.
No. No, no, no. We didn't fix anything. No, 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 no.
yeah, they don't want to be held responsible at all, so they just like pretend like it never existed, so they don't bring it up.
Yeah,
Yeah, they
so
just ignore it.
that's what I had to say. I mean, I agree with you, Matt. The DualSense is my favorite controller ever made. I absolutely love it. But if you have, when it was drifting, I did not love it.
Yeah, yeah. I agree. Whenever mine gets really bad, I just go, I hate you. I hate you.
Felipe, imagine you're playing Street Fighter and then you're trying to make a combo that requires you to do like down left X, but the controller is doing down left back X. It's gonna mess up your combo. You're not
I
gonna
know,
be
right?
able. You're not gonna be able to do your Hadouken.
I know. I have been informed by both sides, but first of all, boomer here. I'm still very happy with my PS4. I will upgrade when I get upgrade. I have never gotten drift on this in like a knock on wood in like I think maybe like 4 years I've had or
You're
maybe
right.
more. I don't know. I lost track. So I've never had any trouble. Knock on wood again, double knock.
You're right.
But this is like good information to know because I do plan to upgrade now that I know everything. Especially like without prior to reading about the upgrades for the new controller, I just assume a certain things. I only got like about the wireless input like correct. Everything else was like, oh, that's pretty neat. Something that I found like oddly ironic is that they're bringing back these features like to like map your inputs,
That's
your
true.
commands. That's something we forgot to talk about, but like quite a few games already do this. Like game level, not console level, but old games like maybe PS2 era, PS3 Max maybe, they had the option. maybe it's mostly fighting games, but they do have games or hack and slash, like the Dynasty Wars. They do have functions to customize or change your inputs, but now they're kind of like bringing back an old feature that is game level, but they still like rebrand as something new. Like, look what we can do now, but like it's always existed. You're promoting something that is not new to the industry, so it's like we're at a weird phase in like the marketing department.
That is absolutely true. Yeah.
The
Well,
best part of the Edge, the DualSense Edge, is that you'll be able to completely change the sticks. That's one of the
mm,
main features.
really?
Instead of the cap, like the Microsoft one is you can just change the cap and like there's different types that you can change it to. But in the article and in their little video, you can see that the whole stick can be taken out and then you can replace it. And they also said in the article that you can buy replacement joysticks, the whole thing.
Hmm.
So that's basically Sony going like, yeah, if you get joystick drift, you can just take it out and buy a new one and then push it back in and it'll work again. It's basically them just going like, yes, we know it's an issue, we fixed it, but here, even better, even better solution. If you still get joystick drift, you can just get a new one, which I think is very cool.
We don't know the price, eh, for this?
Yeah.
Well,
Uh, I told Felipe earlier today over message that I'm thinking it's gonna be 199, like 200,
wow, that's crazy. Like,
because the Xbox One is 150. So I'm like,
hmm. And that's 150 American because I know
yeah.
this DualSense cost me in Canadian dollars like $80 with taxes. I pretty much paid $100.
Mm.
And honestly, it hurt, but at least I knew that this one was not going to drift. And I was like, I can't play games anymore like this. You know what I mean? You can't play a game when your controller is going left when you're telling it to turn right. All right. So, anything else to add about this?
Does
Uh,
anyone use the little back panels, like the little back
what
buttons?
what is that even? I
Because
don't I don't even know what it is.
and then it's basically like extra triggers like these, but just on the back. And I hear it's good for FPS players.
Mm,
So instead of like, so they can keep their thumbs on the joysticks to move and look, instead of
mm,
like having to move their thumb to one of the face buttons to do something, they just map it to one of the panels, the things down here.
mm-hmm.
That way they always have their thumbs on the sticks. But I was like, I play FPS enough, like not competitive, but like I've never needed I never felt like, oh, I need to keep my thumbs on the sticks at all times.
I agree. I agree. All right. So this was our. No, we got a good 13 minutes out of talking about this controller. I think Felipe is frozen, but it's okay. Stay informed, guys.
Stay informed.